I'm Leslie Liao at Taiwan Taoyuan International Airport, where President Tsai Ing-wen is about to embark on a 10-day trip to Central America. Find out what's in store for this journey later on.
I'm here in New York City on what is the first stop of President Tsai Ing-wen's 10-day trip to Central America.
Former President Ma Ying-jeou visits China, making him the first Taiwan president, past or present, to make the trip. Plus, prosecutors say Taiwan police seized a record amount of illegal drugs in raids last year. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. President Tsai Ing-wen left today on a state visit to partners in Central America. She will transit through the U.S. before heading to Guatemala and on to Belize, two of Taiwan's 13 remaining diplomatic allies. TaiwanPlus reporter Leslie Liao is traveling with the president and filed this report from the presidential plane before takeoff.
President Tsai Ing-wen is about to embark on a 10-day journey to Central America. She's going to visit Taiwan's diplomatic allies, Guatemala and Belize. First, she'll fly to New York for a 2-night stopover. Then she'll head to Guatemala for 2 nights. Then she'll go to Belize for 2 nights. And on the way back to Taiwan, she's going to make another stopover in the United States in Los Angeles before heading back to Taiwan. Now, it's rumored that while in Los Angeles, President Tsai will meet with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. That's where the controversial nature of this trip comes in. Now, China claims Taiwan as part of its territory, and any implication that any other sovereign state is recognizing Taiwan's sovereignty draws ire from China. None of this has yet been confirmed by the government yet. It is all just reported, but as soon as we know something new, TaiwanPlus will inform our viewers.
Before departing, President Tsai Ing-wen stated the purpose of her trip.
透过这次的出访，我要感谢民主伙伴挺台湾，也要告诉全世界，民主的台湾坚定地捍卫自由民主价值，更会持续作为国际社会的良善力量，延续善的循环，强化全球民主的韧性。
As President Tsai begins her trip abroad, our reporter Jaime Okan checks in from New York City, the first stop on the 10-day journey.
In just a few hours, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen will land here in New York on what is the first part of a 10-day trip to Central America. Now, during her 2-day transit, it is rumored that she could receive a leadership award from the Hudson Institute, but Taiwan's presidential office has declined to confirm if a ceremony is taking place. After New York, President Tsai will head to Guatemala on April 1st and then on to Belize on April 3rd to meet with those countries' leaders and diplomats. Officials say that this trip is meant to reaffirm ties with countries that still maintain diplomatic relations with Taiwan. Taiwan has 13 diplomatic allies, and many of which are in Central America and the Pacific. Tsai's trip comes just days after Honduras switched recognition from Taipei to Beijing. China considers Taiwan to be part of its territory and has long threatened to take Taiwan by force. Beijing has carried out a pressure campaign to strip the country of its sovereignty through political, economic, and military means. Last August, China carried out unprecedented military drills around Taiwan after then U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited the island. Now there are reports that Tsai could meet with current Speaker Kevin McCarthy in California on her way back home. U.S. officials say it's not uncommon for Taiwanese presidents to make these kinds of transits. In fact, President Tsai has done it 6 times before, to and from state visits. But who she will meet with and what she will do in the U.S. is yet to be seen. Howard Zhang and Jaime Okan in New York City for TaiwanPlus.
Back in this country, the Czech Republic and Taiwan have signed several agreements on the final day of the trip by the Czech parliamentary speaker. Both countries have vowed to deepen their cooperation based on their shared values of freedom and democracy, as Louise Watt reports.
A boost for Taiwan after the loss of one of its diplomatic allies to China. A visit from a European country that wants to deepen its friendship with the semiconductor giant. The Czech Republic signed a slew of memoranda of understanding on cooperation in various fields, including museums, biotechnology, and supply chain resilience. The signings came at the end of a 5-day trip by a 160-strong Czech delegation of mostly business people. It's been led by the Speaker of the lower chamber of the Czech Parliament, who addressed Taiwan's legislature and told members they could count on Czech support.
A já bych na tomto místě, vážené kolegyně, vážení kolegové, milí tajvanský lidé, vás chtěla ubezpečit, že jsme s vámi už nyní a budeme s vámi i nadále, za všech okolností. Protože vy jste s námi, my jsme s vámi.
But when asked what concrete measures Prague could take to help Taiwan, the Czech parliamentarian was vague.
Co se týče celkového počtu podepsaných memorand, které dnes nebo v tuto chvíli je kolem 11 a možná budou přibývat ještě další, byť jsou v různých oblastech, včetně těch ekonomických, tak přesně vybudovávání těchto vazeb je jedna z těch klíčových věcí, která nám pomáhá držet tu spolupráci takhle blízko a těžit z ní ve všech oblastech, včetně té, o které hovoříte, tedy té politické.
Like many countries, the Czech Republic doesn't have official relations with Taipei, but Beijing. That's not stopping it from deepening non-diplomatic ties, despite objections from Beijing, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory. But analysts say there's little economic pressure Beijing can use against Prague.
It's really important to highlight that the total value of Taiwanese FDI stockpile in Czechia exceeds that of China by several counts. So the relations between Czechia and China are quite weak.
The visit by the Czech delegation has been a relief for Taiwan after the weekend loss of Honduras, a decades-long ally poached by China. The loss of Honduras leaves Taiwan with just 13 small nations that officially recognize it. But visits like this one show how its unofficial partnerships are blooming. Taiwan's most important and unofficial ally, the United States, is getting visits from President Tsai Ing-wen this week and next, as she travels to and from Taiwan's allies, Belize and Guatemala. Eastern Europe's growing links with Taiwan are partly because of its own history of authoritarianism. And as Speaker Adamova told Taiwanese lawmakers, the Czech Republic is fewer than 400 kilometers from Ukraine, now invaded by Russia. As Taiwan deals with military and diplomatic pressure from its own huge neighbor, China, officials here are hoping they can count on these growing friendships with other democracies should they need help in the future. Patrick Chen and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's former President Ma Ying-jeou is on a historic 12-day trip to China, the first by a former or current president of Taiwan. On Tuesday, he visited a shrine dedicated to Sun Yat-sen, an important figure in Chinese history. Bing Wang reports.
Former Taiwan President Ma Ying-jeou lays flowers at the shrine of Sun Yat-sen in Nanjing, China. Sun Yat-sen is commonly known as the father of the Republic of China, or ROC, Taiwan's official name. Ma is a member of Taiwan's main opposition Kuomintang, or KMT, and served as president from 2008 to 2016. It's the first trip to China by any Taiwanese leader since 1949, when the KMT lost the Chinese Civil War to the Communist Party and fled across the narrow strait to Taiwan. To this day, Taipei and Beijing have official claims to all of China, and while Taipei no longer pursues unification, the Communist Party insists Taiwan is a part of the territory. The ex-president caused a stir speaking at the shrine by playing up the shared ancestry of people in Taiwan and China.
两岸人民同属中华民族，都是炎黄子孙。今天，当年国父念兹在兹的多项建国主张，都已经分别在台湾与大陆实现。
Ma's statement caused controversy across the strait. Taiwan's government statistics show that 96.4% of Taiwanese can trace their ancestry to immigrants in China. But this doesn't mean they identify as Chinese. According to the Taiwanese Public Opinion Foundation, 78% of people in Taiwan view themselves as Taiwanese. Ma also called himself the former president of the ROC and of Taiwan.
这也是我过去在台湾这个总统任内推动两岸交流8年了。 我们签了23个协议。
This is significant as Taiwan, or the ROC, is not recognized by the People's Republic of China, or PRC, and vice versa. Ma has said his visit is intended to promote peace between Taiwan and China. He said it's a responsibility of both sides to resolve tensions.
我们提出的主张是和平奋斗，振兴中华，把中山先生当年的遗言也涵盖在内，盛盼两岸共同努力。 追求和平，避免战争，致力振兴中华，这是两岸中国人不可回避的责任，我们一定要努力实现。
Taiwan's ruling Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, has criticized Ma's trip, accusing him of endorsing the Beijing government. Ma is not scheduled to visit Beijing or meet with Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Ma will return to Taiwan on April 7th. The same day Taiwan's current president, Tsai Ing-wen, returns from a much-publicized trip to the U.S. and Central America. The visits by the country's current and former leaders show two different visions for the country's future and how Taiwan must balance ties with Beijing and Washington. Andy Shi and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
By Wednesday, U.S. officials will have had to remove TikTok from all government devices. Some lawmakers have gone a step further and urged the country to consider banning the Chinese-owned app from all U.S. devices. The central concern is whether China's government could access user data and compromise national security. This worry was evident at a heated hearing of TikTok CEO Shou Zi-Chew on March 23rd. For more on the topic, reporter Joyce Tseng spoke with Russell Brandon, editor of tech news site Rest of World.
So can you share your thoughts about how the congressional hearing went with the TikTok CEO?
Yes, it was not a good hearing for TikTok. I think going in, a lot of members of Congress were very sort of skeptical to the point of being hostile. The CEO was not really able to convincingly answer concerns that the Chinese Communist Party would have direct access to data collected by TikTok. This is one of those where it sort of is one of the central U.S. concerns, and he must have known that this was going to come up at the hearing. If he can't really reassure them that that's not happening, that's a really ominous sign.
What is there to lose with a ban on TikTok?
I think a lot would be lost. It is a vibrant online culture at a moment when there is not a lot of vibrant online culture, in my opinion, at least, on sort of Facebook and YouTube. There are a lot of young people doing a lot of creative things, and, you know, it would be a blow to that. To the extent that you think that is valuable, you would be turning all of that off. I don't know how much that concern is reaching Congress. I think there's a real generational divide in terms of the heavy users of TikTok are Gen Z and millennial. There aren't really people representing that in Congress.
What do you make of social media becoming an arena for geopolitics?
Fundamentally, these are speech platforms. It's people talking. I think the question of when that becomes inappropriate, when we stop trusting the moderation, is something every social network has to deal with. I think it's very, very different to ban it on government devices. I think there are already a lot of restrictions on government devices just because it's your work phone. If you start talking about we're just going to take it off everyone's phone, that's a much more serious restriction on speech. I do think there will certainly be pressure on other countries to sort of reciprocate whatever action the US takes. The danger is, are we forcing people to pick sides? Does this kind of get into a Cold War scenario where there are countries that are aligned with China and there are countries that are aligned with the US and Europe?
That was TaiwanPlus reporter Joyce Tseng speaking with Russell Brandon, tech editor of Rest of World. Chinese tech giant Alibaba has announced plans to split into 6 units. After the split, each unit will have its own chief executive and board of directors. Alibaba says this is the biggest change it's made in its 24 years of operation. Leaders say it's aimed at improving decision-making and increasing agility. The Chinese government began cracking down on tech companies 2 years ago. Alibaba was one of the firms caught up in a campaign, but there have been signs the government is now easing up on its approach. Shares in Alibaba gained 14% in New York following the announcement. Coming up, a look at young people's mental health as the world marks International Youth Day.
Thanks for watching TaiwanPlus News. For more news from here in Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. The mental health of the world's young people is under strain. According to the WHO, around 14% of the world's 10 to 19-year-olds have a mental health condition, many undiagnosed and untreated. Today on International Youth Day, John Van Trieste takes a look at how Taiwan's young people fit into this global picture.
More and more Taiwanese teenagers feel troubled. That's according to a recent mental health survey commissioned by the Child Welfare League Foundation, a Taiwanese NGO. The survey found 17% of teens are depressed, 23% if just high school students are counted. The foundation is concerned. Suicide is Taiwan's second leading cause of death for 15-year-olds to young adults. Experts and advocates have already weighed in. But what do young people themselves have to say about mental health and treatment? This is Nangang High School in Taipei, where class has just gotten out for the day. Though it's known for its strong bilingual education program, it's otherwise a typical public high school. TaiwanPlus spoke to students there to find out if they really feel their peers are suffering. Some were skeptical of the accuracy of the survey's findings.
I think most of our classmates just feel very happy and having a good time every day. So I just thought about the source of the data.
And they do seem to be a happy bunch, but they also say they face many of the same pressures the survey picked up on.
There is a gap between parents with our generation. So it's hard to, it's like parents want student to do something, but student is not sure if they are like it or not.
And dangers to mental health the survey didn't pick up on, including some new to their generation.
Sometimes in Instagram, there are some anonymous accounts, and many people will post their feelings on the account, but the account is anonymous. But some people make gossip on the account or post or down the comments, and maybe the one everyone is discussing about may feel, oh, how people think me like that bad or something.
One thing that seemed to match the survey's findings was a reluctance to seek help.
Yeah, we have counseling rooms to offer you advice and counsel and aid and support for your mental issues and other various factors that. In this generation, we are more open-minded compared to our forefathers and our ancestors. But I think that we are still rather conservative in terms of asking help from anyone else, like your friends or your family or any strangers.
The counseling at school, you need to get counseling by yourself. You need to talk to them. But I think a lot of students will be afraid of that. Yes, they may not want to, oh, I don't want to talk to them. No, I can do it, I can solve it by myself. Yeah.
Professionals say there are things that can be done, like encouraging more family time at home and thinking about social and lifestyle changes.
How to decrease the stress and how to correct the inappropriate traditional stress pressure to the young generation and only care about the academic the performance. And and the more healthy lifestyle, encourage young people to have exercise and not too much internet the gaming and I think that's a lot of activity need to give them, like more hiking, biking, sport, and that is also very important.
And this professional agrees with the proposal the survey's commissioner put forward to implement universal mental health screenings at schools, much like how vision tests are conducted with all students. They're optimistic that such an initiative could normalize receiving counseling, making it as standard as getting a pair of glasses, and in turn, helping to ease the stigma around mental health challenges among young people in Taiwan. Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The Taiwan High Prosecutor's Office says police have been seizing record amounts of drugs. According to the office, drug busts last year yielded close to 10,000 kilograms of contraband, a record for Taiwan. Police believe Class 2 drugs, which includes cannabis, is the most widely used category of drugs in Taiwan. Cannabis busts have increased sharply in recent years. Police holds of the drug have grown from around 200 kilograms in 2019 to more than 1,500 kilograms last year. The High Prosecutor's Office says it will step up its search efforts and create rewards for those who track down cannabis use. To find out more about Taiwan's complicated relationship with drugs and cannabis in particular, John Van Trieste spoke to lawyer Zoe Lee, a specialist in cannabis cases.
So first of all, what can you tell me about the laws about marijuana in Taiwan?
Cannabis is Schedule 2 narcotic in Taiwan under our drug law is the same category as methamphetamine, MDMA, and LSD. So if you traffic it, if you bring it from abroad, or you're trying to sell it, or you make it, and you're facing 10 years jail time. But, however, if you just simply have it for personal use, less than 20 grams, 20 grams is a lot, and you simply use it, that's the worst case scenario is go to rehab. As a kind of facility.
So you mentioned that's the same class with methamphetamines. That's quite a serious drug. Why do you think that? That marijuana is like lumped in with those drugs?
Go back to 1950s, and Taiwan, ROC government. I will not say Taiwan government because before that we have some influence from U.S. government. They gave ROC government a lot of financial funding and also weapons, everything. So when U.S. government asked ROC to put cannabis into our drug law, and we did.
But in recent years, there has been a notable uptick in at least the amount of marijuana that's been seized in Taiwan by police. Is this a sign that more and more people are using it, or its use is more common?
It's probably because of the media telling people, okay, cannabis is not that bad. So more and more people speak out loud, say, hey, I'm a stoner, look at me. So of course they'll get caught in the end.
And do you see any signs of change in terms of full legalization? Is there a political will to do that?
3 years ago, a lawmaker called Chen, he he's no longer being the lawmaker anymore because he got voted and kicked out by the parliament. Before during the election, he said he was openly support the medical use of cannabis. It was on the interview. And he said, okay, I think this is good. This policy is okay, but not in his campaign policy, but as more like a journalist asked him about this question, and he gave a positive response. And after he got elected, my colleague and I visit him in his office in Parliament, and he started just muted just mute on this topic, on this matter. He explained to us like why he cannot say that out loud and openly. He said his voting region is in Taichung and it's not Taichung City. He said like his voters are more conservative, so probably cannot accept this kind of progressive ideas. And I visit other, not a formal visit, but like just would visit them in like drinking or whatever for some lawmakers. Personally, either Green DPP or KMT, I talk to them like lawmakers. I cannot say the names, but personally, they are okay with cannabis, to be honest. But they will always say, well, our voters or our citizens cannot accept this yet. So if we want to get elected again, we cannot say it.
Once again, that was John Van Triet speaking to lawyer Zoe Lee on Taiwan's relationship with cannabis. A Taiwanese high schooler has won 3 gold medals at the Youth World Weightlifting Championships being held in Albania. Pan Xing-jen was the best in her 49-kilogram weight class for the snatch with a lift of 73 kilograms and a clean and jerk with 90 kilograms. Altogether, Pan lifted the highest total weight of 163 kilograms for her 3rd gold. 16-year-old Pan is currently a sophomore in high school. Her 2 sisters are also weightlifters. Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we'll leave you with images from a BMX competition at the 2023 Crankworx World Tour in New Zealand. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.